I didn't really intend for this to turn into a real business. This was supposed to be a hobby of mine. So I didn't go to school for business. In fact, I ended up dropping out of college, which I'm strangely proud of. Because of that, I really had no expectations. And some of you may find yourself in the same position where you know maybe that you want to run a business, but you really don't know what's coming after that. And maybe you've been in business for a while and you want to grow or you want to scale, and maybe you're not ready for some of that, or maybe this will help you navigate some of those waters. So, number one, the first thing that I think you should know, and you probably already know this and you've heard people say it all the time, is that you are going to work a lot. Especially if you did it the way I did it, which was basically just bootstrapping your way through with no funding from anybody. The only way that I could afford another roll of tint was to work way too many hours. Now, before some of you guys yell at me and say, hey, I read the 4-hour work week and I did this and I did that, I'm telling you, it's not real. If you want to build something, if you want to build a real foundation, you're going to need to put in the work. And if I had to go back and do it all again, there were some things I would probably change. I would focus more on structuring the business in a way that is designed for growth instead of just beating my head against a wall, for lack of a better way to say it, to get to where I was going. But there's no way around it. Even if I structured it that way, I was going to have to put in the work to structure it that way. So some long hours are ahead of you. However, with that being said, it's also the most rewarding thing in the world. When you succeed and you are the only reason that you succeed, there's nothing like it. And that kind of brings me to number two. And that is that nobody is going to tell you what to do. Now, most people, this is the reason that they get into business, especially in this type of business. So you're a technician, you're a window tinter, you're a paint protection film installer working for another shop, and you think, this guy's getting rich, I'm just making this guy rich, I know what I'm doing, I can install paint protection film better than anybody, I'm going to go out and do it. And that may be true. Some people may be able to pull that off, but in my experience, I've had employees come through and leave and try to do that kind of thing, and they almost always fail. And the answer lies more in the thought process behind the business than it does in the skill level. So yeah, you can be a super skilled paint protection film installer. The problem is, what happens when you wake up and you don't have to be somewhere today at 9 o'clock? A lot of people start to fall victim to that trap of, well, I don't have to be there at 9. I have to be there at 10 because I have an appointment, so I'll sleep a little bit longer. I can leave at 2 to go get a haircut because nobody's coming into my business anyhow. You really need to learn to treat it like a real job from day one. And actually, I have an employee that no longer works for me, was a good friend of mine at the time, that really helped me realize that. So very early on, I started to feel like I could just kind of do what I wanted. I owned the place. I was hardly making any money, but I would come in when I want and leave when I want. And I did that for a while, and finally he called me out, and he was like, hey man, why do you get here whenever you want, and you're requiring me to be here? And my first thought is because I'm the boss, I get to do that. And that is true, but you only get to do that if you're successful and you have systems in place and things that allow you to do that if you want a successful business. If you don't, if you want to just be normal and have a job that you're trading for another job, except this one you don't have a boss at, then that's a conversation for a different day. That's not the type of business I'm into building, and these truths maybe wouldn't apply to you in that case. But if you want to build a business, number two, nobody's going to tell you what to do. It's great because you are the one accountable, but also you're the one accountable. It kind of makes it a challenge to move through your days. Number three, if you are not growing, you are dying. And this is a weird mindset for most people if you're transitioning from a job to a entrepreneur kind of life. It is constant stress to figure out what is the next step to move the business along. And once you start hiring employees, everything sort of compounds. Not because the employees are stressful. We need great people to help us grow. But because that stress of knowing that I need to make the right decisions to make sure that the 30 people that work for me have great opportunities as they go through life. And they probably have significant others or maybe kids. So that 30 people that you're kind of directly responsible for their success can very easily become 60 or even 90 people that heavily rely on the decisions that you make every day to move their family and their goals forward. So it's a lot weighs on you. Again, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I absolutely love what I do. You have to constantly be reminding yourself that if you're not growing, you're dying, and you're doing the people around you a disservice by not providing them with new opportunities to grow. Number 4, this is a point of contention amongst many entrepreneurs, but I believe you get paid last. And that's how I grew this company. There were years, literally years at the beginning, where I did not get paid. My employees, my lowest level employees, were making more money than me while I was working 80 to 100 hours a week every single week. Maybe I'm stupid for doing that. Maybe there's a better way. Some of you might tell me that I'm just an idiot and I work too hard, but I always believed in making sure you get those people taken care of that are helping you build and then get paid. Nowadays, we've been in business for 12 years. We're doing pretty good. We're expanding across the country. I can afford to take a paycheck and also pay my other people, and that's an awesome feeling, but it was not always that way. Number 5, if you want real success, and there's a very big difference here between trading one job, like I mentioned earlier, and really owning a business that is thriving and producing money for you as an owner, not a technician working inside of your business. If you just want to trade a job and just be a window tinter on your own and make the same amount of money that you were making before and have no boss, then this probably doesn't really apply to you too much. But if you want to grow a business, you're going to have to make some serious sacrifices for real success. And what I mean by that, you might miss out on some things that people around you are doing. For instance, I grew this company during my early 20s. I had a lot of friends that were still in college and hanging out and going to do fun things and taking little trips together and things like that, that I did not go on. I had to say, no, man, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I have window tint appointments. They laughed at me. They thought I was crazy. Now I can do things that they pretty much only dream of doing. So there's some sacrifices, but it does pay off in the long run. Even now, many, many years later, I still have to answer text messages and phone calls and things like that at uncomfortable times if I want to grow. I might be out to dinner with somebody and I need to step away from the dinner table to answer a question or to help a manager get through a situation that maybe they've never ran into before. So just, again, not a complaint. It's just something you need to be aware of. If you're not ready to make those kind of sacrifices to maybe your social life, maybe you shouldn't pursue a entrepreneur path. And number 6, this might be the most uncomfortable one of them all. You just heard me talk about lots of hard work and all of that stuff. And all of that is really important, but the most important thing is actually who you know. And people say that, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it's really true. Relationships are the single most important thing I've learned in business. So on both the sales side and on the management side, you need to be able to manage the relationships between you and your employees and also between you and customers. And every one of those might look different, especially on the employee side. I've seen people that barely work at all able to land gigantic jobs and contracts strictly because they know somebody and they've taken the time to build up trust and relationships with somebody. Most of my jobs that I sell now, so paint protection film, wraps, and ceramic coatings, almost all of those occur through a text message to me to a previous client. Somebody texts me and says, hey, I picked up a new McLaren. I want to get it in for a full wrap. Whereas my sales team might have to make multiple follow-up calls and those kinds of things because they haven't necessarily built relationships like I have with some of those people. So it's not necessarily what you know, it is who you know. And I'll leave you with this. A guy that I follow a lot, his name is Brandon Dawson. He's an excellent businessman. They've got a lot of services that can help you out. He says it's not just hard work that makes you money. If that were true, every custodian on the planet would be a multimillionaire because they work so hard. It's that hard work coupled with knowing the right people and doing the right things that are going to help you succeed in business. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video. Please let us know if you enjoy seeing more of the business side, that kind of content. Let us know in the comments, shoot us an email, check us out on our website, social media, whatever, and make sure you are subscribing to the channel on YouTube to get some more of this. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time.